water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then everything changed when I finally came back. That's right, I am back. J Nix is back to talk about Avatar The Last Airbender, if you hadn't picked up on it. This one is a set that I have been super stoked for. I always thought would be a super easy tie-in to really acclimate with the Magic the Gathering world if they did do a Universes Beyond for it. Even before I knew Universes Beyond was a thing, I'm like, oh man, that'd be so sick if Avatar ended up somehow, some way getting some sort of shout out in Magic the Gathering. Here we are talking about the pre-release for Avatar The Last Airbender. I have a lot of stuff to go over. Typical housekeeping, if you've been here before in the beginning, talking about, reminders, tips, tricks, those type of things. And then diving into the cards and just kind of talking through a couple decks as I read off the cards. I'm going to do something a little bit different. So if you have been here before, I'm just going to hit strictly on the colors. And I'm not going to set aside a bunch of cards for like removal and those type of things. Let's see how this goes. Let's see how you guys feel. Hopefully, I can manage to get some Avatar cards and do a little mini pre-release opening type of thing for you that I've done last two sets. I unfortunately am going to miss the Avatar pre-release, but one of my buddies is going to get a box, and we're going to give it a go and see what we pull and how it feels to play. Maybe we'll play a couple different formats. I don't know. Let me know down below in the comments if you played, how you thought the set felt. It seems like it's going to play really well and feel really nice. Maybe that's just coming off of Spider-Man that just kind of got beat up and really didn't have the type of cards that we had hoped, I guess, and didn't play as well as we hoped, and was also kind of designed awkwardly itself. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So first off, what I want to talk about is reminders for the pre-release. What are some things that we should end up bringing if you are going? So I like to bring some snacks. Even if I don't touch them, at least I have them. Drinks also. I know I skipped to the third one, but it fits nicer this way. And then items for playing. Blank tokens if you have them. There's some old like shrine tokens and day and night tokens that are just basically blank. I throw them in a little penny sleeve, grab a dry erase marker, write on them as need be, because you're not always going to get every token that you need. In addition to that, dice to mark counters, whether it's time counters, +1/+1 counters, stun counters, all things that end up kind of making an appearance in this set. And then sleeves. Sleeves, just first off, you won't hurt your opponent just to see you shuffle cards without sleeves on, but also sometimes it makes it easier to shuffle. So those are things that I typically bring when I'm going to a pre-release. So let me know if I miss anything here. But next up, I have tips and just things to keep in mind, right? So first off, your deck is going to be 40 plus cards. I usually tend to add a few extra cards in there, push like 41, 42, 43. In the Final Fantasy one, I completely miscounted, and I think I was playing with 47 cards. I don't know how I got there. Somehow I still ended up in like 2-1 and like 7th place, with everybody else being 3-0 ahead of me. But just something to think about. 40 is what most people lean on, but 40 isn't the hard and fast rule. You can add a few extra, but you can't go under. Then you want to do about 17-ish lands, depending on how many cards I have in my deck. I'm going to be running 16, 17 probably, unless I have an ungodly amount of mana fixing and I'm only running one, maybe two colors, but heavily in one. But yeah, 17 is a good rule of thumb. And also in a format like sealed, talking about pre-release here, removal is king, right? If you can find a color that has a ton of removal, whether it's blue with something that you can tap stuff down or just throw time counters or stun counters on it so it doesn't untap for a little bit of time, or if you're looking at something like black with destroy and exile effects, or red with just, hey, deal a bunch of damage to it, all those things are going to be super key in making sure you have a successful pre-release, and hopefully you get more packs at the end of the pre-release. So removal is king. Try and do, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 pieces to some extent there. That's probably what I would do. Next up, let's talk about our avatar mechanics. So we have 4 brand new mechanics that we kind of knew, and then an additional one that's making a reappearance. There's a couple others that I could have put in there, but we'll touch on the 5 that you see on the screen here. So first off, firebending. We'll talk about the exact wording on all of it, but essentially you'll have a thing that says firebending and then maybe like 2 after it. That just means when the creature goes to attack, you create 2 red mana, because firebending 2, or whatever the number is after the word firebending, you create that much red mana when your creature goes to attack, and you lose it at the end of combat. So if you have certain abilities or combat tricks or something like that, you're going to want to use it right in the middle of combat there. There's some really cool ones. I think Sozin's Comet is an instant where it deals 5 damage to a creature, or deals a bunch of damage to creatures, and then gives you firebending X, where X is how many creatures you control. Something crazy like that, where you just get a bunch of mana. Now, in this set, there are some ways to distribute that mana out. But, you know, in other formats like Commander and things like that, you have so many other ways that you can dump that in, which I can see firebending really kind of going crazy. Next up, we have Earthbending. So Earthbending just basically says, once again, there's a number X something after the word Earthbend. Let's say Earthbend 2. Again, 2 is going to be our example. So Earthbend 2, and it says choose a target land and put that many counters on it. So if it's Earthbend 2, you choose a target land, it becomes a creature, and you put 2 counters on top of it. Okay, so keep that in mind. Here's something else if you're not a commander player that you want to make sure that you think of, is anything that says that specifies non-land does not affect that earthbended land. Because yes, that land is a creature, but it is also a land, so you cannot target, or it cannot be included in whatever that ability is. You might see it come up in some instances. There's things like in Commander Cyclonic Rift, right? It bounces everything back to your hand that is a non-land permanent. Lands get to stay. So another cool thing to think about. Next up, we have waterbending. So waterbending is kind of Convoke-ish, where I believe it is, you'll have like waterbend and then say, once again, 2 after it. But this time that 2 will look like a mana cost, colorless mana cost, right? And essentially what that means is you can tap creatures to pay for that waterbend cost. And if you do, you get some additional payoff to it, right? Now, there are some interesting instances where I believe there's waterbending at instant speed. There's waterbending for casting creatures, kind of like a kicker cost type of thing. But yeah, just make sure to read the card, pay attention to what exactly that waterbend ability is telling you to do, and, you know, use it and have a good time. Now, I will say, and I'll hint at it, there are certain ally decks where you could play a bunch of cards that create allies or a bunch of cards with allies in it. Waterbend is going to be really good in those because you can tap those creatures, and especially the ally tokens, they're 1/1s. Yes, you're going to get a ton of payoff out of that, and you're not really killing your board too much, hopefully. And finally, our last bending ability that we're going to talk about is airbending. So what does airbending do? Well, airbending basically says, hey, you can target X amount or a singular creature, and you can, maybe it's even permanent, non-land permanent, something like that. And you can exile that card, and then its owner can pay 2 colorless to recast that card from exile back into play. So there's some interesting ways with, kind of removing counters off of creatures that might be a pain, but there's also some cool use cases for maybe like the ally deck that we just talked about, where, a creature might come into play and it creates a 1/1 ally, right? So you typically say pay 3 for that creature. You airbend it up, you pay 2, it comes back in, it creates another ally for you. So that's going to be pretty cool. Next up, we have Exhaust. So Exhaust is an Aether Drift, not Aether Revolt, but Aether Drift mechanic that we saw. And basically you can pay to trigger this ability that gives you some sort of payoff, but it only happens once during each instance of that card. So if you bounce it, like with Airbend, and it comes back into play, it's a different instance of that card. You can exhaust it again, right? So it's just an ability that you can have trigger once in the life of the card. That's very particular itself. There's also Raid, I believe, came into the set. I forget exactly what that does, but we do have some cards that we can look at and talk about. But definitely the big ones that you want to pay attention to are those first 4 there: Firebending, Earthbending, Waterbending, and Airbending. Now, let's get into some cards, because we got a handful of cards and we're 12 minutes in and we haven't even talked about a single one yet. First up, we're going to talk about blue. So we have Serpent of the Past, 5 blue. And if there are 3 or more lesson cards, and we'll talk about what lessons are, it's particular to Avatar The Last Airbender. In your graveyard, you may cast this spell as though it had flash. Seems sick. A 7 cost that you can cast for flash. That's a 6/5. And then this spell costs 1 less for each non-creature, non-land card in your graveyard. So that counts instant sorceries, your lessons, your enchantments, even artifacts. Yeah. So there's an ability or a possibility that you could cast this for like 2 or 3. Really strong card. I think, especially in limited, it's going to be an absolute beater. I think there are lesson decks out there and non-creature, more spell slingery decks that you can play it in pre-release. And I'm really excited to see kind of where this card fits, especially at an uncommon. Seems super strong for that. Now, next up, we're talking UA, the Moon Spirit. So, this card, yeah, look at this. Okay, I actually like this artwork a little bit, but imagine if they gave us that top artwork just in full art foil. Ooh, that'd be beautiful art. But anyways, 3 and a blue, flying, vigilance. And it's a 3/3, and here we go. We have Waterbend 5 and tap. You may cast a non-creature spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. And just to clarify the Waterbend, and I'll do this just this time. Each time a ability pops up, I'll read the text on exactly what it is. While paying a Waterbend cost, you may tap your artifacts and creatures to help. And then each one pays for 1. All right. So it's not necessarily you have to use your creatures and your artifacts for it, but you can use them to help. Great. great ability, especially on this card here where you can cast a non-creature spell without paying its mana cost. There are some big cost non-creature spells that could really save the day, even if you're paying 5 for it. But in addition to that ability, one of the nice reasons why I put UA on here is because of flying. Especially in pre-release, flying is killer. You can just build a flying deck and bully people. And then it also has vigilance, so it can block for you too. Next up, Watery Grasp. Just a cool little enchantment removal card. 1 in a blue, enchant a creature, and it doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. But then you can also Waterbend for 5, and then the enchanted creature gets shuffled into its owner's library. So not only does it shut it down on the field, but you can also remove it completely off the field and throw it back in their library. Definitely something to look out for. It's a common card. Now, there are a bunch of these specific lessons. So waterbending, firebending, airbending, all that. Earthbending. But right now we have the waterbending lesson. And this is the first kind of new type of card where we have that lesson subtype on the card. So 3 in a blue and draw 3 cards, then discard a card unless you waterbend 2. Sweet. So, yeah, you could just basically do pace 6 essentially, with 2 of it being creatures, allies that you tap, and you draw 3. Awesome. Worst case, you pay 4, you draw 3, discard a card. Also, not that bad at all. And in that lesson deck that I've kind of hinted at, this could be a real sweet card because, as we saw with Serpent of the Past, we want to get lessons in the graveyard and do things. Next up, Grand Grand. Whenever Grand Grand becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. Sweet. And then non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast as long as there are 3 or more lessons in your graveyard. Once again, lesson deck. Good card. Accumulate Wisdom. So look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 1 of those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Put each of those cards into your hand instead if there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. So essentially a 2 cost that allows you to draw 3 if you have 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. That's incredible value. This card I think is going to pop up in some other formats too, especially in pre-release. It's good. Legend of Kuruk. So the first 2 enchantment sagas, and this is kind of cool because we have the transform ability on here, but the first 2 chapters is scry 2, then draw a card. And then the third one, exile it, return it to the battlefield, transformed under your control. And that gives us Avatar Kuruk. And whenever you cast a spell, create a 1/1 colorless spirit token with this token can't block or be blocked by a non-spirit creature. It has an exhaust ability of Waterbend 20. Take an extra turn after this one. So I kind of like this card. I think it's okay. The first ability is super good. Now, are you really going to get the opportunity to use the exhaust? I don't think so. In pre-release, if we're talking Commander, okay, you can probably make that happen. There probably are some go-wide decks that really make this pop off, and I understand it creates its own fuel off of that first one, but still, it's an alright card, and I think it's really good in our pre-release setting, but yeah, it requires a little upkeep in order to get it going. Ember Island Production. This card's really good. So 3 blue, and you get to choose one. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it's not legendary, and it's a 4/4 hero in addition to its other types. Little copy effect and kind of a switch effect for its power and toughness and all that. Or create a token copy of target creature and opponent controls, except it's non-legendary, and a 2/2 coward in addition to its other types. Either way, I think this card is really sweet. Yeah, just play it, and it's uncommon. Sweet. Invasion Submersible. So, they're getting better, in my opinion, with the vehicle types. They're not so dependent on the crew cost, and they also have the ability to be turned into a artifact creature other ways rather than just crew. So when it enters, return up to one other target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and then the exhaust ability of Waterbend 3, this vehicle becomes an artifact creature, and you put +1/+1 counters on it. Waterbend 3 is going to be super easy, and it's a one-time crew cost. Seems good. Seems good. Much better than just plain crew itself. Obviously, unless you did like a crew one or something like that. But the bounce effect, all that, I think it's just good. Crashing Wave. So blue, and then as an additional cost, you can Waterbend X, and then tap up to X target creatures, then distribute 3 stun counters among tapped creatures your opponent controls. Sweet card to lock it down. Awesome that it's cheap. Yes, you have to Waterbend, but you can use artifacts and creatures to help with that. Ty Lee Chi Blocker. So 2 in a blue, Flash, Prowess, which I don't know why. I don't know if I'm getting more mature as a Magic player, but Prowess is growing on me now, especially in this set more than others. But also, when Ty Lee enters, tap up to 1 target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Ty Lee. So a good way to lock down a creature, a good way to just flash the creature out, and also in kind of a spell slingery deck, it gets bigger. So it gets harder to kill. Yes, it only lasts until end of turn, but still, good card. Waterbender Ascension, really sweet. 1 in a blue, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a quest counter on this enchantment. Then if it has 4 or more quest counters, draw a card. And then you can Waterbend 4, and target creature can't be blocked this turn. Seems good. Seems very, very good. And, Serpent of the Pass, easy way to get that card through. Other flying creatures, typically they're going to get through, but something on the ground makes this a lot easier for it. And I guess that Waterbend kind of functions like a Rogue's Passage, but it's actually better because you don't even really tap the card for it, so you can Waterbend multiple times if you wanted to. Wan Shitong, Librarian, X, blue, Flash, yet again, flying, awesome, vigilance, great. This card's going to break a lot of formats, and is going to be super powerful, right? So when he enters, put X +1/+1 counters on him, then draw half X cards rounded down. So just out of that, it's a sweet card. You draw a bunch. Wan Shitong gets huge just off of paying that X cost. And then whenever an opponent searches their library, put a +1/+1 counter on Wan Shitong and draw a card. Wow. Especially in like a commander format. Or, maybe Canadian Highlander, possibly. I don't know. Just anytime your opponents are doing something in their library in a format like that, this card's going to be sweet. Sorry. Unagi of Kyoshi Island. 3 blue, Flash, and Ward Waterbend 4. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw 2 cards, and it's a 5/5. I think there's a really interesting deck within this set that kind of cares about people drawing a second card. I think this card can kind of fit into almost any style of deck, but I think especially in a deck that you're just trying to draw extra cards, or your opponent is drawing extra cards. Yeah, this Unagi is a great card. Next up, first time flyer, 1 and a blue. Flying, once again, flying's just good. And this creature gets +1/+1 as long as there's one lesson in your graveyard. So once again, that lesson deck looks amazing. Yes, it's just a singular +1/+1, but still, 2 costs, bring in a 2/3, flies over top. That's going to get you 4, maybe even 6 damage in before they find a way to deal with it. Strong card, Secret of Bloodbending. So blue, 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 blue. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may Waterbend 10. You control target opponent during their next combat phase. If this spell's additional cost was paid, you control that player during their next turn instead. So you can get a choice to have control of them during the combat phase or during the turn as a whole. Keep in mind, when you control them during their combat phase, you get all the knowledge that they have during their combat phase, right? So you get to look at their hand, you get to, cast instants, you get to attack weird. All of that is up to you. Also, at the end, you exile this card. Good card, though. Waterbending Scroll, 1 and a blue, so you can pay 6, tap, draw a card, and the ability costs 1 less to activate for each island you control. This card's going to be stellar, honestly. Any blue deck should be running this because you're going to have multiple islands, just guaranteed. And getting, 3, 4, even 5, maybe 6 islands on the field isn't going to be that bad. Yes, in pre-release it's going to be a little bit harder, but if you can't get 4 islands out, then you shouldn't be playing this card, and maybe you shouldn't be playing blue. Just saying. Boomerang Basics. So cost of blue, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you controlled that permanent, draw a card. Cool way to kind of get a steal effect and then get an additional payoff on it. Kind of weird that you would steal a card and then just bounce it and give it back to them. Maybe there's a timing effect, control it until end of turn. But for 1 blue, seems really good. Bounce and potential to draw a card. Spirit Water Revival, 1 blue, blue. As an additional cost to cast this, you may Waterbend 6, draw 2 cards. If the additional cost was paid, instead shuffle your graveyard into your library, draw 7 cards, and you have no maximum hand size the rest of the game. You exile Spirit Water Revival. Now, I think if you get to that point in the game that you can pay 9, I understand Waterbend, you can tap creatures and artifacts. So, that might even be like turn 4 or 5 in the game, which you should be doing bigger things, but still, if there is potential for that, could be really good. I'm not sure it's really a pre-release card, or even a sealed card, but okay. I do think it's a really good card in places where it falls. I think Commander, it seems like a pretty decent card. We're getting a lot more of those kind of restart your deck over again cards. So interesting and interested to see where it goes. The Spirit Oasis, 2 and a blue, and now they're bringing back shrines for us. And I think Avatar: The Last Airbender was a great set to really integrate shrines and kind of move forward with them, right? Because we got them in Kamigawa, a couple of the Kamigawa sets, and that was about it. And they just live there and nothing else. So I'm glad to see this back. I don't know if you play against any shrine decks like, Commander or anything like that. You might not be happy to see them back, but really cool. Let's talk about them. When this shrine enters, draw a card for each shrine you control. Sweet. And whenever another shrine you control enters, draw a card. Cool. Just every time there's a shrine, draw a card, please. Good card. If you can get a shrine deck going, seems really good. Obviously, it's probably not going to work in pre-release, but that small chance you can get a couple shrines, yeah, you run it. Now, Iguana Parrot, 2 and a blue, Flying, Vigilance, Prowess, 2/2. Yeah, it's just basic good card. It's going to come in cheap. It's going to have potential to get bigger. It has some sort of evasion, and it doesn't tap when it attacks. Katara Bending Prodigy, 2 and a blue. At the beginning of your end step, if Katara is tapped, put a +1/+1 counter on her. So kind of incentivizes water bending or attacking or something like that. But there's also, you can water bend 6 and draw a card. Cool. Cool. I think the water bending 6 to draw a card is a little steep, but I think there's a lot of potential for, first off, she's an ally. And second off, if she's tapped at the end of the turn, she gets bigger. So kind of a cool way to be able to pump her and really utilize a lot of other cards just based off of Katara. Master Paku, 1 and a blue. Prowess, and then whenever Master Paku becomes tapped, target player mills X cards, where X is the number of lessons in your graveyard. So your lesson deck could be really insane. If you have a lot of lessons in your graveyard, you've milled yourself maybe a couple times. You got a lot of lessons in there. And then, you attack or you water bend or something like that. And maybe you're doing 4, 5, 6 mills every time Paku gets tapped. Target your opponent. Start nuking their graveyard or their library into their graveyard. So that's it for blue. Now we're going to dive into red. Let's see what red has to offer. So first up, we have Redirect Lightning. It's 1 red, and you may, as an additional cost to cast it, you may pay 5 life or pay 2, and change the target of spell or ability with a single target. Insane card. I think this card's going to be so good. Just think any sort of like targeted removal, you can take care of it. Also abilities that target something, you can take care of it, right? Maybe you have your big guy that is going to, target probably like enchantment spells, right? Or tap target creature. You redirect that towards them. Could be insane. And paying 5 life, not too bad, honestly. Across the board, like pre-release, it's not even that bad, really. Unless you're in a bad spot, then just pay the other 2 because it's probably late in the game. Next up, Faded Firepower. X, red, red, red. It's an enchantment. Flash. This enchantment enters with X fire counters on it. Okay. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much plus the amount of damage equal to the number of fire counters on this enchantment instead. So it's a replacement effect. I think it's good for pre-release type of things. Maybe even, what am I thinking? Like standard, possibly. But I think in bigger card range sets, like you have things like, City of Fire. There's even the one dragon that's doubles from Foundation. I can't think of its name right now. But I think just having the potential to double and triple that damage rather than doing that damage plus 2 or 3, probably better. Probably. But I think if you're playing this in pre-release, you're using it for that flash cost just to get a little extra damage across. Zuko, Exile Prince, 3 and a red. Firebending, 3. So let's read about firebending, right? Whenever this creature attacks, add 3 red mana. This mana lasts until the end of combat. So kind of what we talked about, right? And then you have another ability of 3 colorless. and exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. And Zuko is a 4/3. I think that's a pretty strong ability. That second one, I think Firebending is also kind of good. Think of it like this. You Firebend when you attack. If you have nothing to sink it into, you sink it into Zuko's second ability. You exile the top card. Hopefully you can cast it on your second main. Seems good. And also kind of gets you into the habit of trying to play on your second main rather than your first main. That's a big change in play that takes a while for people to really get onto. Now, Rough Rhino Cavalry, 4 and a red, Firebending 2, and it has the exhaust ability of you pay 8, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on that creature, on this creature, and it gains trample until end of turn. So it has potential to be a 7/7. I think this is just... it's mostly a bad card, but I think it closes out games, and that's really when you need it to do that. And also have the potential to kind of kill blockers, right? So start destroying maybe chump blockers that have 4 toughness on it. Something like that. That's about it. How to start a riot. 2 and a red, and here's another lesson for us. This card's so good, especially in pre-release. Target creature gains menace until end of turn, and creatures target player controls gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Card's insane. Play it. Play maybe even 2 copies of it. Maybe 3 if you have them. I don't know. But card will win games. My Jaded Edge, 1 and a red. Prowess creature. Exile 3. Put a double strike counter on my. This is going to be a deceptively insane card, right? So 3 to just give my double strike for the rest of the game till they die, basically, is really good. But you look at it, you're like, okay, it's got 1 power, that's 2 damage, but the prowess is where it's going to come in clutch for you. So especially if you're playing kind of more of a spell slingery deck, or a lower creature count, Mai's going to be insane just there alone. Boomy Bash, 3 and a red, choose 1. Boomy Bash deals damage equal to the number of lands you control to target creature. Seems awesome. And destroy target land, creature, or non-basic land. So I think that that is going to be good too. And that also kind of takes care of a big annoying Earthbend creature that you might have. Yeah. Boomy Bash is going to help a lot. Sozin's Comet. So we talked about this a little bit. 3 red. Each creature you control gains Firebending 5 until end of turn. That's what it was. It doesn't deal damage. It gives you just that Firebending 5 for each creature. And then it has a foretell cost of 2 and a red. And foretell, little older keyword. But during your turn, you may pay 2 and exile this card from your hand face down. Cast it later on a later turn for its foretell cost. So you pay 2, you put it face down on the field, and then you can pay that 2 and 1 to get it to trigger on a later turn that you choose. Kind of a way to break up that 5 that you end up having to pay regardless, right? Firebender's Ascension. So once again, the Ascension cycle of cards, 4 different bending. 1 and a red, and when this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with Firebending 1. Fine, nothing crazy, fine. Whenever a creature you control attacking causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger, put a quest counter on this enchantment. Then if it has 4 or more quest counters on it, you may copy that ability and choose new targets for the copy. All right, sweet. So just a way to consistently get abilities that trigger to happen multiple times. Staring at Firebending, because that's a big ability in red during the Avatar set that we're going to want to have happen multiple times. Price of Freedom, 1 and a red. Destroy target artifact or land an opponent controls. They may look for non-basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped. Draw a card. I don't know. There's a couple cards like the Air Temple, I think it is. That's like a land that you might want to get rid of. Artifacts, I'm trying to think of if there's any huge ones. There's probably some somewhere around that are going to be a pain for you. But ultimately, decent card when you need it. And if nothing else, you draw a card off of it. Gain a little card advantage. Solstice Revelation, 2 and a red. Exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. Also, this is a lesson. Let me point that out. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the spell's mana value is less than the number of mountains you control. If you don't cast that card this way, put it into your hand, and then you can flash it back, this card back, for 6 and a red also. So, yeah, this is not going in a deck that you're splashing red, but this is going in a deck that red is one of your solid colors for sure. You should be getting a free card for, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 when you cast this. 100%. Twin Blades. So 2 and a red flash, and when it enters, you attach it to a creature, and that creature gets double strike until end of turn. And also equipped creature gets +1/+1. I like these abilities. I think they're really strong when you can flash them in. They automatically go on a creature, and the creature gets something. That's why I threw this guy in here. Jong Jong the Deserter. Firebending 1, and then you can exhaust for 3 and put a +1/+1 counter on Jong Jong. When you next cast a lesson spell this turn, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Lesson deck loves it. Jet's Brainwashing for red. It does have a kicker cost of 3, and target creature can't block this turn. And if the kicker cost was paid, gain control of that creature until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste. And then you create a clue token. So, cool little steal effect. You can get sacrifice the creature. That blue card that bounces it back to people's hands, and then you draw. Could work there. I think yeah, this is an easy win. For 1, you just make a creature unable to block, and then for 4, you gain control of it and do something with it. Sweet. Crescent Island Temple, 3 and a red. Whenever it enters, for each shrine you control, create a 1/1 red monk token with prowess. Whenever another shrine you control enters, create a 1/1 red monk token with prowess. As you have guessed, it's a shrine. Shrines seem pretty good. Shrines get bigger and better off of more shrines. Keep shrining your shrines. Fire Nation Cadets. It's a red, and this creature has Firebending 2 as long as there's a lesson card in your graveyard. Sweet. And then you can pay 2 and pay it more than once. This creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So you have the ability to basically make this guy really big, and they have to block. And if nothing else, it gives itself 1 instance of that trigger just by default. The Cave of Two Lovers, 3 and a red. First part of this saga, you create 2 ally tokens, 1/1 ally tokens. Then you search your library for a mountain or a cave card, reveal it, put it into your hand. And then the third one, you Earthbend for 3. So typically I thought we were going to hit Earthbending on green. I forgot this card was in here. Target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. There you go. I think this saga's very good. Play it. War Balloon 2 in a red, flying, and then for 1 you can put a fire counter on this vehicle. As long as this vehicle has 3 or more fire counters on it, it's an artifact creature. Has a crew ability of 3. That put a fire counter on it is instant speed, so you can use Firebending to just put 3 fire counters on it instantly. Great card at a 4/3. Yeah, play it. Ron and Shaw, 3 red, flying, firebending 2. When it enters, if you cast them and there are 3 or more dragons or lessons in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of Ran and Shaw, except it's non-legendary. Cool. Yeah. I think Brandon Shaw is a really good card. Also, I'm sorry, it also has 3 in a red. Dragons you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. I think there is a bonus sheet card that might have like 2 dragons on it also. Or there's 2 dragon bonus sheet cards. So there's not a ton of dragons in this set, but there's a potential to really make this matter, and I just think it's a good dragon deck card. Honestly, seems sweet. Ty Lee, Artful Acrobat, so another Ty Lee card, and 2 in a red. Has prowess. I believe the other one did too. And whenever Ty Lee attacks, you may pay 1. And if you do, target creature can't block this turn. Cool. And it's a 3/2. Simple, short, sweet. Going to be good in our pre-release. The Legend of Roku. 2 red, exile the top 3 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. The second chapter is add 1 of any color mana, and the third chapter is exile this saga and then return it to the battlefield transformed under your control. So what does Avatar Roku do? Has Firebending 4, is a 4/4 creature, and you can pay 8 to create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying and Firebending 4. Right there, Rand and Shaw has dragons that it cares about. Awesome. The last Agni Kai, 1 and a red. Target creature you control fights target creature and opponent controls. If there's excess damage, you get that much red mana. And until the end of the turn, you don't lose red mana switching between steps and phase ends. So that is going to be a good one if you have a lot of firebending, because this will make it so that firebending mana will stay with you all the way until the end of your turn, basically. Firebending Student, 1 and a red, prowess, and Firebending X, where X is this creature's power. So I kind of think that this is a really good card, especially if you have a lot of non-creature tokens, obvious or spells. Obviously, Firebending gets better and better and better with this creature that we have here. Yeah, I think if you have ways to use that and ways to get bigger triggers off of this, play this card. Zhao the Moonslayer, 1 and a red, menace, non-basic lands, enter tapped. Yuck. 7. Put a Conqueror counter on Zhao. Okay, I don't think we've ever had a Conqueror counter before. As long as Zhao has a Conqueror counter on him, non-basic lands are mountains. So, awkward, dumb, angry, blood moon. I hate this part of the series. Zhao is a dick. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Combustion Technique. This is another lesson. 1 in a red. It deals damage equal to 2 plus the number of lesson cards in your graveyard to target creature. If that creature dies, it would be exiled. Now, Combustion Man, what does Aang call him? Mr. Sparky Boom Boom, I think it is. Yeah, whenever he attacks, destroy target permanent unless its controller has Combustion Man deal power to them equal to his power. So, yeah, either I'm going to destroy that permanent, or you take at least 4. Card seems amazing, especially in sealed and limited play. Give it a go, see how it feels. Wartime Protesters, 3 and a red haste. Whenever another ally you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and it gains haste. And it's a 4/4. So I had talked that there's an ally deck out there. We haven't really ran into ally helping style effects yet, but this is definitely one of them. And this is the start of kind of talking about ally decks. I think we're going to talk more about it in white, but first off, we are going to dive into multicolor next. So let's get into it. The Lion Turtle, 1 green, blue, Vigilance Reach. When it enters, you gain 3 life. Can't block or attack unless there are 3 or more lessons in your graveyard. Taps for 1 mana of any color. It's a 3/6. Good card. Falls into that lesson deck. Yeah, if you got lessons, play it. Dragonfly Swarm. So this is like Crackling Drake, kind of. 1 blue-red flying. Ward 1. Creature's power is equal to the number of non-creature, non-lands in your graveyard. When this creature dies, if there's a lesson card in your graveyard, draw a card. Once again, lesson deck, it really pays off in, but also just lower creature heavy decks, it'll do good for you. It'll come out and swing hard. Firelord Azula Firebending 2. Oh, and is 1 blue, red, black. Read them in the wrong order, but it's fine. Whenever you cast a spell while Firelord Azula is attacking, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for that copy. So if you have a firebending deck going, Firelord Azula is going to be insane. Keep that in mind. Firelord Azula, going to be real sweet. Iroh Grand Lotus, 3 green, blue, red, firebending 2, and during your turn, each non-lesson instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to the card's mana cost. And during your turn, each lesson card in your graveyard has flashback 1. So your lesson deck loves this card. And just the Spellslinger deck absolutely loves this card. Oh, Iroh's also a 5/5. Play him. Also, Allied. Good for the Ally deck, too. Azula Cunning Usurper, 2 blue, black, firebending 2. When she enters, target opponent exiles a non-land creature they control, then they exile a non-land card from their graveyard. Cool. And then during your turn, you may cast cards exiled with Azula, and you may cast them as though they had flash and mana of any type to spend those. Azula is a 4/4. This card's really strong. This card's really, really strong, it feels like. Yeah. If it triggered on attack, it would be insane. But, I mean, airbend it. Bounce it in and out. Like this, yeah. Good card. Jet Freedom Fighter, 2, and then 3 hybrid mana of red and white. When he enters, he deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature and opponent controls. Sweet. And when he dies, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. And Jet is a 3/1. Yeah. I mean, not necessarily an ally specific card, but just kind of feels like it fits in an ally deck. Yeah, Jet's good. Sokka Tenacious Tactician, 1 blue, red, white, Menace, Prowess, other allies. Here we go, ally deck, baby. You control have Menace and Prowess. Insane. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. That in parentheses has menace and prowess because Sokka gives them menace and prowess. This is going to be one of the most insane cards. I think underratedly insane cards. Let me say that. I think there are better cards, but this is a good card. Throw it in an ally spellslinger, fun, goofy, weird deck. Heck, even make a commander deck around it. Yeah, seems good. Aang at the Crossroads 2, green, white, blue, flying. When Aang enters, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card with mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Yeah, cool. Get a free creature onto the battlefield. Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, transform Aang at the beginning of the next upkeep. The next upkeep, not your next upkeep. Keep that in mind. So what does Aang become? Well, let me tell you. Aang, Destined Savior. Flying, lands you control have vigilance. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, Earthbend 2. And Aang's a 4/4. Yeah. This guy's going to love just Earthbending. Right? And it's kind of funny because, like, this is a scene of, well, not specifically a scene, but this is, like, after he learns Earthbending and gets it under control, and he's like, yeah, I got this. So it makes sense that this card would care about Earthbending like that. Just cool little flavor win, right? Aang will be a good card. Iroh Tea Master. So 1 red, white. When Iroh enters, create a food. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, you may have target opponent gain control of target permanent you control. When you do, create a 1/1 white ally creature token and put a +1/+1 counter on that token for each permanent you own that your opponent controls. So this is kind of cool because you have a way to basically create a food token that you can give. And I think if you have airbending and ways to trigger airbending a bunch, just create a bunch of food tokens. And Iroh keeps giving them to your opponent. I think it's funny because in my mind, Iroh, well, in everybody's mind, Iroh is this wise guy that gives advice to Zuko about so many different things going on in the series. But it's kind of like food for thought, right? I'll help you. That's the thought part, and here's the food. Just I don't know. Seems cool to me. I like it. Hama, the Bloodbender, 2, and then 3 hybrid mana of blue and black, and target opponent mills 3 cards, exile up to 1 non-creature, non-land card from that player's graveyard. And for as long as you control Hama, you may cast the exile card during your turn by water bending X, where X is the mana value, basically. Yeah. A cool way to kind of steal creatures and cast them on your side. Foggy Swamp Spirit Keeper, 1 blue-black lifelink. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 spirit creature token, and that token can't be blocked or block non-spirit creatures. I think it's just a way to be, if you have a draw engine going, you can create a bunch of creatures for yourself. Good card, especially in pre-release. Boomy Unleashed, 3 red, green, trample. When Boomy enters, Earthbend 4. When Boomy deals combat damage to a player, untap all lands you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Only land creatures can attack during that combat phase. I think this seems insane and fun, and Earthbending deck kind of seems cool. I'm not sure how viable it is, but it seems cool. All right. Ozai, the Phoenix King. 2 black, red. Trample, Firebending for haste. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes red instead. Ozai has flying and indestructible as long as you have 6 or more unspent mana and is a 7/7. So I'm kind of thinking that like this just means you don't lose mana at all between phases and stuff, because like it becomes red, but it doesn't say that it isn't already, it has to not already be red. So like then you go to your end step and it's like, I'm going to lose my unspent mana that is red, and it goes, no, that mana becomes red. Maybe I'm reading into it a little weird, but yeah, I don't know. Ozai seems like a really strong card. It's an expensive card, but seems like a really strong card. Once you get it out there, that's GG. White Lotus reinforcements, 1 green, white, vigilance. Other allies you control have +1/+1. Yeah, Little Lord for that ally deck. Seems great. Sun Warriors, 2 red, white, Firebending X, where X is the number of creatures you control. Seems like it could be pretty sweet. 5 and create a 1/1 white ally creature token. Yeah. Creates its own firebending increase things. Cool. Suki Kiyoshi Warrior, 2 hybrid mana of green, white, green, white. Sorry, there's 2 hybrid there. Suki's power is equal to the number of creatures you control. Great. Ally deck. When Suki attacks, create an ally that's tapped and attacking. Sweet. Suki seems like an easy, like, just bully card. Aang Swift Savior, 1 white and blue, flash, awesome. Flying, even better. When Aang enters, airbend up to 1 other target, creature, or spell. And then waterbend for 8, and you transform Aang. Before we get to the flip side of the card, this is the first time we're seeing airbending. So, airbending says exile it. When it's exiled, its owner may cast it for 2 rather than paying its mana cost. There you go. Aang and La Ocean's Fury is what it becomes after you pay Waterbend 8. So reach, trample whenever Aang and La attack. Put a +1/+1 counter on each tapped creature you control, and it's a 5/5. So really incentivizing you to basically tap everything and attack. Like Aang and La's got you. Just swing with me, please. It's good. It's a good card. Now, Avatar Aang. So we have red, green, white, blue, flying, firebending 2. Whenever you waterbend, earthbend, firebend, or airbend, draw a card. Sweet. Then, if you've done all 4 this turn, transform Aang. And Aang becomes the master of elements. Flying and spells you cast cost Wooburg less to cast, which takes a lot out of the casting cost. Now, keep in mind, if you have a like 3 red green, the white, blue, and black cannot count towards that 3. It has to specifically have these color costs in it, and it reduces it by that. Just something to put out there so there's no confusion. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may transform Aang, Master of Elements. If you do, you gain 4 life, draw 4 cards, put 4 +1/+1 counters on him, and he deals 4 damage to each opponent. Sweet card, strong card, win. Earth King's Lieutenant is green and white. Trample. When this creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each other ally creature you control. Whenever another ally you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Seems good. Yeah. Gets all of your other allies bulked up, and then also bulks itself up. Katara the Fearless, green, white, blue. If a ability of an ally you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Yeah, double trigger seems sweet, especially if it's something like creating more allies, right? So, of course. Toph, the first metal bender, one red, green, white. Non token artifacts you control are lands in addition to their other types. Sweet. And at the beginning of your end step, Earthbend 2. Toph is a 3/3. Yeah. I mean, works with an ally deck, but definitely in its own lane of like a Earthbender deck. Do lots of cool stuff type of thing. Katara, Water, Tribes, Hope, 2, White, Blue, Blue, Vigilance. When Katara enters, create a 1/1 white ally token, and then Waterbend X. Creatures you control have base power and toughness XX until end of turn. X can't be 0. Activate only during your turn. So this is going to be an awesome way to just basically till end of turn make your creatures real big, right? Yeah, it's water bending, so you have to tap, well, you don't have to, but at least, tap artifacts to make it better. And yeah, you can pay into it also, but yeah, it turns everything into a better March of the World is. Okay? That's basically what it is, and you run over your opponents. Fire Lord Zuko, red, white, black. Firebending X, where X is Zuko's power. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, and whenever a permanent you control enters from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So this is really good because it functions with airbending. Creates Zuko, makes Zuko really strong, creates a bunch of mana for firebending. Yeah, Porcupine, 2 and a red. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Yeah, great. Spell Slinger, non-creature style deck. Yeah, loves it. Sandbender, Scavengers, white and a black. Whenever you sacrifice another permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. There are some things out there that will make sacrificing a possibility. When this creature dies, you may exile it. When you do, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to this creature's power from the graveyard to the battlefield. Sweet little reanimator effect. I think at the surface it doesn't seem like enough, but if you can get it up and running with a couple sacrifices, you're going to be in a good spot. Professor Z, Anthropologist. So there's 2 hybrid of blue and red. You can tap it, discard a card, draw a card. 1, tap, sacrifice Professor Z. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Activate only during your turn. 0/3. Yeah, a little nice way to just kind of bounce back a instant or sorcery, get an additional cost. It's just going to be a good little recycle card for those type of things, and also a way to kind of sculpt your hand of discard a card, draw a card, right? Bitter Work, 1 red, green. Whenever you attack a player with 1 or more creatures with power 4 or greater, draw a card. And then Exhaust 4, you can Airbend 4. Activate only during your turn. Yeah, I think it's creating the stuff that it needs off of the exhaust ability, if nothing else. But I think especially in like ally decks, there's going to be ways to make things big enough that you're not going to worry about this so much. Beifong's Bounty Hunters, 2 black, green. Whenever a non-land creature you control dies, Earthbend X, where X is that creature's power. Once again, great card. Very simple in what it does, but very strong in what it does. Cruel Administrator, 3 black, red. And here is Raid. So this creature enters with a +1/+1 counter on it if you attack this turn, which is kind of what Raid does. Whenever this creature attacks, create a 2/2 red soldier creature with fire bending 1, and it's a 5/4. I think it has the ability to create a counter for itself, and then every time it attacks, it's going to make your board bigger and give you more mana to do stuff with, right? Sweet card. Hermetic Herbalist is our last multicolor card, and it's green, blue, and you can tap, add 1 mana of any color, or you can tap and add 2 in any combination of colors, but you only spend that to cast lesson spells. So that is our multicolor. Next up, let's dive into white cards. Aang's Iceberg, 2 and a white. Flash, and when this enchantment enters, exile up to 1 target creature or target non-land permanent until this enchantment leaves the battlefield. You can waterbend 3 and sacrifice it, and if you do, you scry 2. I think that's a cool way to kind of, take care of something. Usually, especially in like pre-release play, if something gets put under a card like this, it's just going to stay there. There's not a lot that's going to remove it. Other formats, not so much, but definitely in pre-release. Southern Air Temple is another shrine that we have 3 and a white, and when Southern Air Temple enters, put X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of shrines you control. And then whenever another shrine enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. This is going to be a sweet card, super bulking for all of your creatures, all of your go-wides, your allies, yeah. Hakoda, Selfless Commander, 3 and a white. Vigilance, you may look at the top card at any time, which is strong. You may cast ally cards from the top of your library at any time, sweet. Then you can sacrifice Hakoda. Creatures you control get +0/+5 and gain indestructible until end of turn. Ally decks, insane card. Appa, Steadfast Guardian, 2 white, flying, flash, and when Appa enters, airbend any number of other target non-land permanents you control. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, you create a white ally. Sweet. So we get to exile a bunch of cards on our board, pay 2 for each of them to bring them back, and when we bring them back, we get an ally on top of that. Appa is a sweet card, especially in pre-release. Master Pindao, 4 and a white, first strike. Whenever he attacks, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an ally equipment or lesson from among them. Put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. I think this card just kind of fits in any deck, right? It hits our lesson deck, it hits our ally deck, and there isn't really an equipment deck, but if you are running some equipment for more of a supportive role, sure, it hits that too. Card just seems really sweet. I would even splash for it, potentially. Path to Redemption, so this is going to be like our pacifism. 1 and a white, and enchanted creature can't attack or block. And then you can pay 5, sacrifice this aura, exile enchanted creature, create a 1/1 white ally creature token, activate only during your turn. Glider Staff, another piece of equipment, 2 and a white, and when it enters, you can airbend up to 1 target creature. Cool. And then the thing that I like about this is it gives a creature +1/+1, but also gives it flying. That evasion, I talked about it before in blue. Flying is just, it's great in pre-release. Next up, our next lesson, Airbending lesson, 2 and a white. Airbend target non-land permanent. Draw a card. Sweet. I think it's a little bit expensive compared to some of the other things that we've seen. But I don't necessarily mind it too much. It'll be fine. Yip. For a white, another lesson, and target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. That creature is also an ally, or if that creature is also an ally, it gains flying in addition to that. Perfect. Yeah, ally deck, play multiples. This could be one of those things that just is a beater. If you watched my post pre-release of Final Fantasy, I played Haste Magic, and there was another one, Blitzball Shot, maybe. And I dealt 12 damage to my opponent in one turn, just because I just dumped all my mana into those on one creature. This has a similar feeling. Fancy Footwork, 2 and a white. Another lesson: untap 1 or 2 target creatures. They each gain +2/+2. Yep. Yep, yep. Aang, the Last Airbender, 3 and a white, flying. When he enters, airbend up to 1 other target non-land permanent. And whenever you cast a lesson, Aang gains lifelink for that turn. Seems good. Airbender Ascension. So 1 and a white. When this creature when this enchantment enters, airbend up to 1 target creature. Whenever a creature you control enters, put a quest counter on it. And if it has 4 or more, exile up to 1 target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of your end step. So, like a cheap but extra work Conjurer's Closet. Team Avatar, 2 and a white. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. 2 and a white, discard this card. It deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature. I think you're probably playing Team Avatar, putting it on the battlefield, and I could see this being insane with that Katara card, where you can waterbend X, and everything gets its base becomes XX, right? So say you have 5 creatures on the battlefield, you waterbend 5, or you waterbend 4, right? That creature becomes a 4/4, and then this enchantment would give it 5 more. It's now a 9/9. Yeah, that seems sweet. Vengeful Villagers, 3 and white. Whenever this creature attacks, choose targets, creature and opponent controls, tap it. Then you may sacrifice an artifact or creature. If you do, put a stun counter on it. Yeah, I think that's good. Stun counters are pretty strong and pretty obnoxious, so I think this is definitely a play. Tough, hard-headed teacher. That made it in white somehow. But 2 red and green. We should have put it in the multicolor. When it enters, you may discard a card. If you do, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Whenever you cast a spell, waterbend or earthbend 1. If that spell is a lesson, put an additional +1/+1 counter on that land. This is going to be sweet for a little earthbend spellslinger. Yeah. Avatar's Wrath, 2 white. This is sweet. Choose up to 1 target creature, then airbend all other creatures until your next turn. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hand. Exile Avatar's Wrath. Play this card. This card's insane. Choose your strongest creature. Everything else gets airbent, and then they can't even cast those back on their next turn. They have to wait 2 turns in order to be able to pay the 2 to cast them back to the battlefield. Yeah, that's insane. Curious Farm Animals, just a good, basic, hard-working card, right? It's a white. When it dies, you gain 3 life, and you can also kill it yourself for 2, and destroy 1 target artifact or enchantment. Airbender's Reversal, 1 and a white. Choose 1, destroy target attacking creature, airbend target creature you control. I think that I would probably play it for the first one, just to kind of throw off my opponent a little bit. 2 to destroy a creature seems good. Earth Kingdom Jailer, 2 and a white. When it enters, exile up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment an opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. until it leaves the battlefield. Sweet. Destined Confrontation 2, white, white. Each player chooses any number of creatures they control with total power 4 or less, then sacrifice all other creatures. I like these because it puts you in the driver's seat of your destiny and forces your opponent to make an awful choice for their board state. The Legend of Yang Chen. 3 white white. The first chapter, starting with you, each player chooses up to 1 permanent with mana value 3 or greater from among permanents your opponents control. Exile those permanents. 2, you may have target opponent draw 3 cards. If you do, then you draw 3 cards. Then the third chapter, you exile it, return it to the battlefield as Avatar Yang Chen. Flying, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, airbend up to 1 other target non-land permanent. It's a 4/5. I think this card is not necessarily a house, but it is definitely like quality, like definitely gets the job done for you. You're not mad to have it on the field. Earth Kingdom Protectors for a white. Vigilance, 1/1. Sacrifice this creature. Another target ally you control gains indestructible this turn. Just a great way to save something. Love it. Enter the Avatar state for a white. Until the end of turn, target creature you control becomes an avatar in addition to its other types. Gains flying, first strike, lifelink, and hexproof. Yeah, ultra protect card. But also ultra do damage card. Yeah, it's sweet. It's sweet. I don't know. I'm halfway through. Probably more than that. It's just good. Suki Courageous Rescuer 1. White, white. Other creatures you control get +1/+0. Sweet. Works great with our allies. Whenever another permanent you control leaves the battlefield during your turn, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. This ability triggers only once a turn. I think it is a pretty good card. I hate that it triggers only once a turn, but I'm asking for so much right now. And I understand that. But it's a great card. You're going to get creatures on it, and you're going to bulk up those creatures and any other creatures that you already have on the battlefield. Sweet. United Front X white white. Create X/1/1 white ally creature tokens. Then put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. This putting +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, like they keep printing this on cards, and this is insane. Like this is such a good effect in general. And then just having the ability to create allies that then you put these tokens. Oh, insane cards. Insane cards. All right, that is the end of our white card section. Now we're going to jump into black, green, land, and artifacts. And I promise we are almost done. I don't have nearly as many cards to talk about as I did in those first 4 sections. We're almost there. We're almost there. First off, Beetle-Headed Merchant. 4 and a black. Whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact you control. If you do, draw a card. Put a +1/+1 counter on this. So here is where we start hitting on our sacrifice effect, right? We knew black was going to do that for us, but the white and black multicolor gold card that cared about sacrificing, this guy's going to be in that deck for you. Next up, Buzzard Wasp Colony. 3 and a black flying. When this creature enters, you may sacrifice an artifact or creature. Once again, if you do, draw a card. Whenever another creature dies, if it had counters on it, put it on this creature. So, yeah, it like oscillates itself, basically. Cool, thank you for those counters. Let me hang on to those. Yeah, sweet card. Sweet card. Ozai's Cruelty, 2 and a black. Ozai's Cruelty deals 2 damage to target player, and that player discards 2 cards. I can't explain how good I think this card is just with that target player discards 2 cards. Like, effect. Especially at the beginning of the game. Like, you put them down, I mean, well, turn 3. You probably expect them to cast, I don't know, 3 cards. They might have 5 or 6 cards in hand. You play this, all of a sudden they have 3 or 4 cards in hand. Now they're playing so far down behind you. And it deals 2 damage. Ooh, crazy, 2 damage. But discard 2 cards. It's so good. It feels so good. The Rise of Sozin, 4 and black. Destroy all creatures is the first chapter on this card. Second chapter, choose a card name, search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards with that name. Exile them, then that player shuffles. Huh. Is this card broken? Because you could like call a land, because it just says choose a card name. So like you could be like, oh yeah, I see that you need blue. I'm going to say island, and you could look for 4 islands out of an opponent's. That might be the play, unless there's like an absolute beater and they have enough mana to use it. Then look for that. But no matter what, take advantage of this chapter to look through their hand, their library, and their graveyard. Please do that. And if your opponent goes, oh yeah, I only have 1 or 2 copies of that card, be like, okay, cool, but like I still want that information because it's allotted to me using this, right? And then, anyways, the third chapter creates Fire Lord Sozin. Menace, Firebending 3. Whenever Fire Lord Sozin deals combat damage to a player, you may pay X. When you do, put any number of target creature cards with mana value X or less from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And as a 5/5. Like, yeah. Sozin is a sweet card. Okay, that's real good. All right, all right, next. Boiling Rock Rioter, 2 and a black, Firebending of 1, and tap an untapped ally you control, exile target creature card from a graveyard. That seems sweet, especially if you get Sozin and you need to take care of a bunch of bad things in your graveyard. This. And you can do it multiple times. Whenever this creature attacks, you may cast an ally card from among cards you own exiled with this creature. Even sweeter. That seems so good. Lo and Lee Twin Tutors, 4 and a black. When Lo and Lee enter the battlefield, search your library for a lesson or noble card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Noble creatures you control and lesson spells you control have lifelink. So there's another kind of weird deckish type of thing. I'm not sure there's enough there, but like nobles, right? So that's something else to point out. Ko, the Face Stealer, 4 black. This card's going to be a bruiser and ouchie. When it enters, exile up to 1 target creature. Cool. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may exile it. Then you can pay 1 life, choose a creature card exiled with Ko. Ko has all activated and triggered abilities of the last chosen card, and Ko is a 6/6. That's sweet. Ko is going to be insane also. Ruinous Waterbending, 1 black. As long as As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may waterbend 4. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. If this spell's additional cost was paid, whenever a creature dies this turn, you gain 1 life. This is going to be a sweet card to rival ally decks. Yeah, do this card. Foggy Swamp Visions, 1 black, additional cost, water bend X. Exile X target creature cards from graveyards. For each creature card exiled this way, create a token that's a copy of it. At the beginning of your next end step, sacrifice those tokens. Still seems pretty sweet. Day of Black Sun X, black. Each creature with mana value X or less loses all abilities until end of turn. Destroy those creatures. Yeah, kind of gets rid of like indestructible and all those type of things. It's going to be an insane card in Commander. It's going to be an insane card in a lot of formats. It's just a solid, just tanky card in pre-release. My Scornful Striker, 1 in a black, first strike. Whenever a player casts non-creature spell, they lose 2 life. Play this card if you are playing a creature heavy deck. Yeah, because your opponent, if they aren't, they're just taking away their life every time they play a card. Canyon Crawler, 4 black, Death Touch. When this creature enters, create a food token, and it also has Swamp Cycling 2. And it's a 6/6. It being a 6/6, it basically has Death Touch already. But yeah, creating a food token for you kind of helps you out there. And then the ability to Swamp Cycle seems sweet. Kind of mana fixes stuff for you. Zuko's Conviction, 4 a black. It has a kicker of 4. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If this spell was kicked, instead put that card onto the battlefield. That's going to be a big card also. Just pay 5, get whatever card I want from my graveyard onto my battlefield. Swamp Snare Trap, 2 in a black. This spell costs 1 less to cast if it targets a flying creature, and the creature gets -5, -3. Yeah, I think that's going to kill a lot of things, or at least make it so their attack is meaningless, basically. Coming in at common, I think it's pretty good. Obsessive Pursuit, 1 in a black. When this enters, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life, create a clue. Okay. Whenever you attack, put X +1/+1 counters on target attacking creature, where X is the number of permanents you've sacrificed this turn. If X is 3 or greater, that creature gains lifelink. This is, weirdly enough, going to be a one that doesn't do anything and then wins the game. Phoenix Fleet Airship, 2 black, flying at the beginning of your end step. If you sacrifice the permanent this turn, create a token that's a copy of this vehicle. As long as you control 8 or more permanents named Phoenix Fleet Airship, this vehicle is an artifact creature, and it also has an ability of Crew 1. I don't think you're going to really get the 8 or more to proc. If you do, like, what happened that game? But also, yeah, I don't know, just seems good and kind of rides along with that black, sacrifice, get rid of permanents, get something in return type of thing. Fire Navy Trebuchet, 2 and a black, Defender, Reach. Whenever you attack, it creates a 2/1 colorless construct artifact with flying, named Ballistic Boulder, that's tapped and attacking, and it gets sacrificed at the end step. 0 for itself. Seems good. Gives you something to use if need be, and it gets sacrificed at the end, so hopefully you can get some value out of it. Tundra Tank, 2 and a black, Firebending 1. When this vehicle enters, target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn, and it has crew 1. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Firebending 1 is just kind of good, and also the indestructible seems kind of insane. Something that you know they're going to be targeting that you want to protect, at least protect it for one more turn. Northern Air Temple is a black, and it's another shrine for us. And when it enters, each opponent loses X life. You gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you control. And then when one enters, an opponent loses a life, you gain a life. Simple, aristocrat style shrine. If you got a bunch of shrines, sure, use it. If you don't, maybe it's not so much worth it. Deadly Precision for a black. Additional costs, you can pay 4 or sacrifice an artifact or creature. Destroy target creature. Seems good if you have a lot of fodder to throw at it, really. And our last black card, Fatal Fissure, 1 and a black. Choose target creature. When that creature dies this turn, you Earthbend 4. Seems pretty good. You can swap out a 1/1 ally for a 4/4 creature land. So, next up, we are going to dive into green and see what green has for us. So, let's get going. Toph, Blind Bandit, 2 and a green. When Toph enters, Earthbend 2. Toph's power is equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on lands you control. Earthbending deck, Toph is going to be massive. It could be sweet. I love it. Sabertooth Moose Lion, just because it is ridiculous. 4 green. Reach 7/7, and it has forest cycling on it. Just a sweet card if you can get to 6 and get it out, and if not, just forest cycle it. Also helps you take down flyers. Rocky Rebuke, 1 and a green. And then target creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. Cool. Flopsy, Boomy's Buddy, 4 green. When Flopsy enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Each creature you control with power 4 or greater can't be blocked by more than one creature. Yeah, I mean, it gives a little evasion to it. And yeah, it makes your creatures just bigger. Just bigger. Once again, it's putting counters on each creature. Such a good thing. Unlucky Cabbage Merchant. Poor guy. 1 and a green. When he enters, create a food token. Whenever you sacrifice food, you may search your library for a basic land and put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you search your library this way, put this creature on the bottom of its owner's library, then shuffle. This seems pretty good. Kind of a pain that you get that basic land thing only once. I understand you would run rampant in many cases, but it's not bad. Still, getting out of land, even one land, is huge advantage. Allies at last, 2 and a green. Affinity for allies, so clearly it's an ally card. Up to 2 target creatures you control deal damage equal to their power to target creature and opponent controls. Cycle of Renewal, 2 and a green. Sacrifice a land. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands. Put them onto the battlefield tapped. Sweet card. Badger Mole Cub, 1 and a green. When it enters, Earthbend 1. And then whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green mana. I think this will help with Earthbending, but also I think Waterbending. It'll be really sweet, because each creature you tap then taps for 2 of the Waterbending cost. Seems pretty good. Leaves from the Vine, another just tough episode of Avatar. 1 and a green. First chapter, mill 3 cards, create a food. Second chapter, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. In Chapter 3, draw a card if there's a creature or lesson in your graveyard. Yeah, just solid card. You're going to get payoff, decent payoff at each level, for sure. Invasion Tactics, 4 and a green. When this enchantment enters, creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Sweet. Whenever one or more allies you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Also sweet. Great Divide Guide. 1 and a green. Each land and ally you control has tap, add 1 mana of any color. Ally decks. This is insane. Yeah, it's an auto include for sure. Legend of Kyoshi, 4 green. First chapter, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, which could be real big. Second chapter, Earthbend X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. That land becomes an island in addition to its other types. And then third chapter, it transforms. Avatar Kyoshi, lands you control have trample and hexproof. And then tap, add X of any one color where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. For me, I think this, well, Sozin is probably the strongest, like, flippy saga transformy card. But out of the Avatar cards from the past lives, I think this one takes the cake. Especially if you have an Earthbend deck going. Just, I don't know. It feels so good. Kyoshi Island Plaza, 3 and a green. When Kyoshi Island Plaza enters, search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped. Whenever another shrine you control enters, search your library for a basic land. Put it on the battlefield tapped. Yeah. Card is insane if you have shrines, unfortunately. The Boulder, ready to rumble. Whenever the Boulder attacks, Earthbend X, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 4 or greater. Once again, insane card. If you have a lot of Earthbending going for you. Earthbender's Ascension, 2 and a green. When it enters, Earthbend 2, then search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped. Then I don't know, I might be wrong, but this might be the only card with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a quest counter on this enchantment. When you do, if it has 4 or more, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains trample until end of turn. Seems sweet. Pre-release, it might be a little too slow, but yeah, in other formats, little slower, longer formats, I think the card really shines. The Earth King, 3 and a green. When he enters, create a 4/4 green bear token. Should be named Bosco. Whenever one or more creatures you control with power 4 or greater attack, search your library for up to that many basic lands. Put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Earthbending, this is sweet. Yeah, let's do that. Elemental Teachings, 4 and a green. Search your library for up to 4 lands with different names. Reveal them, then an opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards into your battlefield and the rest into your graveyard, and the rest onto the battlefield tapped. Avatar Destiny, 2 green. Enchantment Aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard and is an avatar in addition to its other types. Whenever the enchanted creature dies, mill cards equal to its power. Return this card to its owner's hand, and up to 1 creature card milled this way to your battlefield. under your control. That seems like an insane card for 4 mana. Yeah, great card. Boomy, King of the Three Trials, 5 and a green. When Boomy enters, choose up to X, where X is the number of lesson cards in your graveyard. So you could choose, multiple, I'm pretty sure. But put 3 counters on Boomy. Target creature scries 3. Or Earthbend 3. Seems good. Shared Roots, 1 and a green. Search your library for a basic land. Put it on the battlefield tap. Short, sweet, to the point. Diligent Zookeeper, 3 and green. Each non-human creature you control gets +1/+1 for each of its creature types up to a maximum of 10. Cool. Alright, neat. Size makes sense. Just a green. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of lands you control. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them. Put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Rockalanche, 2 and a green. Earthbend X, where X is the number of forests you control. And then you can flash back for 5 and a green. Now we have our lands. Now that we've finished up green, we're going to jump right into lands. I think there's maybe 10 more cards left, so just a couple minutes. Hang in there with me. Airbend, or Abandoned Air Temple. It enters tapped unless you control a basic land, and it taps for a plains. And then 3 and a white, tap, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Once again, that's insane. Next up, Bot, Sing, Say, Where There Is No War. Same thing. Enters tapped unless you control a basic land. Taps for a green. 2 and a green. Tap it. Earthbend 2. Activate as a sorcery. Jasmine Dragon Tea Shop. Taps for a colorless or taps for a mana of any color, and you spend that to cast allies or activated abilities of allies. Or you can pay 5 tap, create a 1/1 white ally. There's a lot of versatility here. Seems like a great little land. Fire Nation Palace, enters tapped unless you control a basic land. Taps for a red. 1 in a red. Target creature you control gains Firebending 4 until end of turn. That seems really good. Pay 2 to generate 4. Secret Tunnel, our only cave in the set. This land can't be blocked. So if you Earthbend it, it's unblockable. Seems sweet. But it also taps for a waste. And then you can pay 4 and tap 2 target creatures you control share a creature type. That share a creature type can't be blocked this turn. This, in a lot of cases, seems like a better Rogue's Passage. I'll say it. Say it right now. Mark my words. Next up, Realm of Ko. It enters tapped unless you control a basic land. Taps for a swamp. 3 in a swamp. Create a 1/1 spirit creature token that can't be blocked or can't block non-spirit creatures. Next up, we have artifacts. So our first artifact that we're going to look at, or not really artifact, I guess colorless spell really is what it is. Colorless. We have energy bending, which unlike all the other bendings is not a keyword, it's a card, because it's all of them mixed to one, kind of. Anyways, it's a 2-cost instant. Lands you control gain all basic land types until end of turn, and you get to draw a card off of it. Sweet value. Bender's Waterskin, 3, pay 3. Untap this artifact during each other player's untap step. That seems super good, because that means anytime any player, their new turn, they get to untap, so do you. Just this, but still it counts. Put a couple of these in your deck, then, really spook them. But it taps for 1 mana of any color. Planetarium of Wang Shitong, pay 6 for 1 tap, scry 2. Whenever you scry or surveil, look at the top card of your library. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Do this only once each turn. Seems like a pretty strong card. So, yeah, whenever you go to do it, you get to look. Whatever the top card is, you can cast it. Seems good. Zuko's Exile for 5. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment its controller creates a clue. Seems really good. Seems really good. We have cards that do almost the same thing for more. So, yeah, I'd play this. White Lotus Tile. It's 4 colorless. This artifact enters tapped, but then you tap it and add X mana of 1 color, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. This seems like a sweeter Hedron archive for typal things, but especially in pre-release, if we're playing that ally deck, we're going to play this. We're going to get a ton of mana off of that. And finally, our last card, the Walls of Ba Sing Se. Why are there walls? There is no war there. I don't understand it. Many people are asking. 8 colorless. Defender. Other permanents you control have indestructible. And it is the thickest, most caked up card we have in Magic now at a 0/30. That's right, 3-0 on the butt. Yeah, I mean, card seems pretty good. I mean, if nothing else, just other permanents are indestructible seems insane. Yeah, yeah. So that wraps it up for Avatar. I hope going through some of these cards, going through the colors, going through the types, maybe you found something that really spoke out to you. Maybe not. Hopefully it helped. I don't know. There's only one way to find out. Go to your local pre-release. Give it a try. Avatar: The Last Airbender pre-releases start the 14th, I believe. Yes, November 14th. One more thing that I want to say about pre-release. When you get there, they are going to have pre-release kits. These pre-release kits, there are 5 different ones for each color. So they have an Azula one that's black, Zuko that's red, Aang that's white, Toph that's, I think it's Toph, that's green, and Katara that's blue. I think that's all the colors that I hit. And basically you pick your favorite one. They might hand them out lottery system style, so everybody doesn't go, I want Aang, and then nobody takes the rest. But regardless, there will be a seeded pack in there. Now, they all won't be the exact same, but they will go with the color that you were looking at, and they will have the hero that is on the box, or the member, not the member of Team Avatar, because Azula definitely isn't. Whatever the character is that is on the box, there will be a card in there. So you can at least be like, ooh, I really wanted an Azula card. Cool, I'm going to get the black pre-release kit. I know I'll definitely get an Azula card in there. One of the packs is seeded to those colors. That doesn't mean there won't be gold cards in there. That doesn't mean there won't be colorless cards in there. But regardless, the card gold and the monocolor card will be of the pack that you're looking at. In the case of Azula, it would be black. Right. In addition to that, your promo card doesn't necessarily, or isn't necessarily guaranteed to be the color of the pre-release kit that you got. So that is still completely ambiguous and separate of the color of the pre-release kit that you got. And then you will have 5 other avatar packs that go along with it that are just regular play boosters. Yeah, so I'm excited to give Avatar a go. I hope you guys are excited to give Avatar a go. I've been waiting for this for so long. I'm glad Avatar's here. And yeah, go have fun. Let me know how it went. Until next time, be kind. Let's get that W. And peace, everybody. Have a good one.